Okay. Okay, so pretty similar to what we saw in the last topic, except this time you've got a sine n x minus h and a cosine n x minus h. So a and our n are still exactly the same, amplitude and 2 pi over n is our period. But this time our h, very similar to quadratics, cubics, quartics, all those other graphs, it just moves horizontally. So a equals amplitude. The range is still negative a to a. 2 pi over n is still the period. And h moves the graph horizontally. Now, because it's x minus h, we see the same thing, how like you do the opposite sign. So if it's like x plus 2, it moves 2 in the negative direction. And if it's x minus 2, it moves 2 in the positive direction. Okay. Right, so there is a dilation of a units from the x-axis, such as the a that appears in your formula, and there is a dilation of 1 over n units from the y-axis. Right, so sketch y equals 3 sine 2t minus pi on 4. For t values between pi on 4 and 5 pi on 4. And I'll give you a hint. It looks like y equals 3 sine 2t. Exactly. But translated pi over 4 units right. Okay, so what's the amplitude? Yep. What's the range? Negative 3 to 3. And the period? Yeah, so it's 2 pi over 2, which is just pi. So we only need this side of the graph because we're not dealing in any negative values. That's going to be our t-axis, and that will be our y-axis. We're going between pi on 4 and 5 pi on 4. That's 1 1/4. So I'll do pi here, split that in half, half again, and then one extra one. So that one was pi. That's a half pi. That's a quarter pi. That's 3/4 pi, and that's 1 1/4 pi. Right. Our range is from -3 to 3, so it's going to go between 3 and -3. We know that a sine graph looks like that. It would usually start at the origin, but we're moving it over pi/4 units to the right. So it's going to start here. And it's got to go through a full pi before it repeats itself. So where is it going to end? If it starts at a quarter. Yeah, 5 pi/4. Right? So that's that point and that point. We know that exactly halfway between them, it's going to go through the x-axis again. So that's exactly halfway. Halfway between the first two dots, it's going to reach its maximum. So that's that point there. And halfway between the last two dots, it's going to reach its minimum. So that's that point there. Right, now we're only drawing the graph for between pi/4 and 5 pi/4, so there's no point doing between 0 and pi/4.
Will it be wrong if we do that?
Yeah, because you haven't taken into account the interval that the question's asked. Right, and then all you have to do is just join them up in a kind of curvy.
It's always not again when it makes maximum, like it's halfway.
Right, so like you have your first dot, you have your last dot that are pi units apart. Halfway between it touches the x-axis, and then halfway between the first two, which is pi/2, it goes to the maximum, and then halfway between the last two, it goes to the minimum. Yeah. Right, that's it. Okay, so okay, so now we have to find the cosine graph equation that has been first dilated by a factor of 2 from the x-axis, then dilated by a factor of 1/3 from the y-axis, and then translated pi/4 units left. Right, so our basic equation is y equals a cosine n x minus h. It's a dilation of a from the x-axis, dilation of 1/n from the y-axis, and then h is the translation. Yeah. So a is 2. Now, 1 over n in this case is 1 over 3. Therefore, n is 3. Right? And h equals what? Pi on 4 units left. What's left, positive or negative? Negative. So it's negative pi on 4. Right? All you have to do is now just plug them into the equation. So you get y equals a, which is 2, cosine n, which is 3, x minus negative 4, so negative pi on 4. So you get plus pi on 4. That's it. All you have to do is find your a, find your n, find your h, and then put them in.